Welcome to Solutions Rising. I'm Rachel Branch. Once again, it is a pleasure to welcome our Berkshire County District Attorney, Timothy J. Shugrue, and our Berkshire County Sheriff, Thomas N.Bowler. Attorney Shugrue has a long and impressive career in the legal profession, including being one of the founders of Kids Place. As district attorney, there are new and innovative programs in that office that have exemplified his commitment to our Berkshire communities. Welcome, District Attorney Shugrue.
Nice to see you, Rachel. Again, it's always a pleasure seeing you.
I love having both of you here.
We always have nice conversations.
Yes, we do. And hopefully enlighten our communities.
Yes.
In 2011, Sheriff Bowler began his career in the Berkshire House of Corrections. During his distinguished tenure as Berkshire County Sheriff, he has created and implemented many innovative programs with exceptional community impact. Welcome, Sheriff Tom Bowler.
Welcome, Rachel. Thank you.
As both of my guests know today, the intent of my Solutions Rising program is its accents on women, girls, children, and the most vulnerable. And I am always trying to highlight the untold stories of victims. With deep concern, I continue to watch the ongoing assault on women and girls in the United States and around the world that is increasing in its severity every day. So I'll start with whoever wants to start. Will each of you please discuss how your visions and hopes from the day you were elected are developing?
Well, we obviously the sheriff and I work very, very closely, and we do a big collaboration on many things. He wants a great program with getting people rehabilitated in the House of Correction. We work with him on that and try to get people reintegrated back into the community afterwards. And we have a great partnership with them. He does so much community engagement work. When I got elected, I sort of took his model and ran with it. And we've done, the first thing I did was hire a community outreach director who now turned into my COO, Julia Saborn, and now we have Stacey Parsons. But that community outreach is so important to us. We do so much. We give money that we get forfeited funds from drugs. I donated to the West Side Legends some money this year for the Family Day picnic when all of the young kids came out and we all attended. I make sure everybody in my office does at least 4 hours of community service each summer, every single employee. So we do a lot of outreach with that. And on top of that, we're doing a lot of work with the elder fraud now, elder abuse. And we've established a new group within our office that works for the sheriff's office. He's got, is it Sergeant Gaylord? Lieutenant Gaylord and James Hall from my office. We collaborate with him along with Stacey Parsons, and we're dealing with building the triads. Getting people that are our generation that are out there so that they know what we're doing in the community. So we're partnering with them, and we're also partnering with the triads and different elder group sessions. So we're going everywhere in the county. We've been down from as high as Clarksburg all the way down to Alfred. So we're doing a lot of work within the community as it relates to that. And again, it's the work that we do with the sheriff and using the community outreach. It's very, very important.
Really important.
Really important. Yeah. Just on Sunday, I was in Lenox for the opening of the Chabad, the new Jewish center in Lenox. I asked them to come and speak there. So we try to get out to the public as much as we possibly can, so they can see what we're doing. In the meantime, while we're prosecuting, major cases, and we had the cases that you like to see us prosecute. We had a huge one, rape conviction a month or so ago. That gentleman had raped a 3-year-old child, and we've got a very significant. I asked for more than we got, but we still got a 22-year state prison sentence. So with a 15-year minimum, actually 18-year minimum mandatory. So that individual will spend the next 18 years in state prison, and hopefully longer depending upon the parole situation. But we actually asked for 27 to 35. So we're doing a lot of that work. 2 rape convictions since I talked to you. We have 2 of them in April and May. On top of that, and those domestic violence cases are tough to prosecute.
They're very tough, and it's very tough. Having been a victim myself, very tough to come forward. And of course, we know Christine Mastriano.
Oh yeah, Christine, my old friend. Yeah. A case that I tried, it has to be 20-something years ago now, if not longer than that. It was a long time ago in North Adams.
And it is amazing when a victim survivor is able to come forward and going to court.
I know.
I mean,
and those
the percentages probably are under 1% of victim. I don't know what they are.
It's hard. I think that when the numbers are coming up, because we do treat people as victims that have gone through this process, we treat them with kid gloves, and we help them and get them services and whatnot, and we try to work with them. And we're educating the juries. That's the hardest part, is educating the juries that a domestic partner can
Really?
rape
Yes,
somebody.
yes.
And these last two convictions were both domestic partners that had raped these women, and we got convictions in both of those particular cases. So we were at a stretch of 5 straight weeks where we had, since March, March, we've had 2 first-degree murder convictions, we've had 2 major rape convictions, and a major child abuse conviction. That's all in the last 3 months. So we're busy, but at the same time, we're out in the community and working with the sheriff and making sure that the House of Correction is different than some of these people that we play away in state prison. State prison, that's when you're hitting the real hardened criminals. House of Correction is that. It's a place of correction. So the idea is that people that we use it out of the district court, people that need help, that need to get clean up drugs, that may need some training. And he offers a lot of training. People probably don't realize that. He's got a print shop, and he's got the hydroponics. There's just so much that they do. And they try to get people back into the community quicker. And I'll let him talk about that because that's their program. But I'm proud that they have made us part of that, and I'm proud that we can assist with them. And we grant write. We do our partnerships together. We try to do sharing of funds and whatnot, so that because money doesn't go very far.
Oh,
And what we get our salaries for is to run our facilities. That's it. I have to run the DA's office. He runs the sheriff's office. In order for us to get stuff we want to do in the community service, we have to grant write. And we do that with partnerships, and that works great. So, Sheriff, I mean, you can obviously tell us the great things that you guys are doing.
And I'm grateful personally for what you've just told.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
good stuff, Rachel. I'm telling you,
really is.
we're doing a lot.
I was all ready to start asking you, all right, come on, Jim,
Well,
tell me the real.
We've got a lot, and it's been,
I know.
this is 31 months I've been in office now. It's 2.5 years. Every single month we have been on trial, and that's not supposed to be the case. It's supposed to be every other month. We're supposed to only have 6 months. So our lawyers are getting a little run down and tired because we've been doing it but we're going to go back to the every other month scenario, which is what we're funded for, what we're supposed to be doing. But we have been going on trial every single month, and we've cleaned up so many guns. I've taken hundreds and hundreds of guns off the street, taken kilos and kilos of cocaine and heroin off the street. We're doing a bang up job. And again, the sheriff's office coordinates with us with that and helps us as well. We had a big roundup. We had a big raid on a bunch of drug dealers, 15 of them. We used the sheriff's office to help us round up those people. Thought it was ICE when we were doing it. It was actually us picking up a bunch of drug dealers. So it's a good partnership. I can't.
It's a wonderful partnership.
Yeah, we can't do it without the sheriff. And it's just again,
Can't
that just
do
didn't exist. It didn't exist for the 4 years before I took office. So it is nice that we have that relationship.
Yeah, it's really important.
We're going back to in 2011 when I started. My vision for the community is to get the Berkshire County Sheriff's Office more involved in community, because we have so many individuals who are incarcerated with us that are from this community. Yeah. And as the DA alluded to earlier, we house 2 types of prisoners. We have the pretrial and we have the sentenced individuals. In the pretrial, as Tim mentioned earlier, is that you got some hardened, the worst of the worst. And we anticipate, if everything goes well in the trial, like these last couple of trials that he's had, those individuals are going off to state prison. But we also have people who are incarcerated with us that are not bad people. They just made some bad choices. Mm-hmm. And they're members of our community. So our whole goal is to get those people reintegrated back into the community. Second Street, Second Chance program it's just flourishing. And it's taken off. We've non-documented, so this is just, or non-duplicated individuals, over 700 to 1,000 individuals that we've been get back into the community successful.
And now Lindsay Cornwell is
Lindsay
the
Cornwell,
director,
yep.
And Jason Tyler's back with
Yep.
you.
Jason's back up with us, working with the DA's office. Him and Lieutenant Gaylord are our community liaison. Which is a very important job. We want our office to be part of the community. We certainly understand some people are going to go off to state prison. That's where they belong. But we have people there that really can get back into the community. And one of the big benefits that we did too was we took Assistant Deputy Superintendent Sean Aiken, who is very, very knowledgeable. He's got over close to 25 years experience, knows our individuals inside our jail, inside and out, knows their capabilities, and we put him in with the courts. So he reports to court every single day, and he assists defense attorneys, he assists probation, parole, district attorney's office, judges. Any questions someone may have about programming or an individual, what they're doing at Second Street, Sean is there with all the knowledgeable information on these individuals. It's turned out to be a fabulous asset for all parties involved.
And the information he has is incredible. We need to know what's available for the house correction. He can just tell the judge what's happening and also what's happening at the jail and they can tell us so many things that are going on. He's just his involvement daily is incredible. A lot more than we even anticipated, I think. But he's turned out to be very valuable.
Even though we have individuals who are in pretrial status, they can still get programming. And these are the guys that most likely are not going to go off to state prison. It's volunteer basis. They can get involved in programming and start the process early so that when they do go to court for their particular trial or their case, at least they have a background of some stuff that they've been already trying to correct. Their behavior's already in the correction, being corrected, and they're involved in programs. That sits well for them when they're standing in front of a judge and telling a judge, these are the things I've accomplished thus far, and this is what I'm willing to commit myself as I move forward. So it pays off huge in the end for these individuals. We start the portfolio as soon as they walk through the door with us, and we set goals for them, and it's been fantastic.
So how that works is that he lets us know this person has done X, Y, and Z. They actually are getting clean. They're doing work within the house of correction. They're getting educated. They're learning a trade. You let me know that. Our recommendation is going to be significantly different.
Yes.
Because we're about rehabilitation as well. As much as we talk about the people we have to put in state prison that are coming here selling drugs and the rapes and the bad cases, there are a lot of people that just find themselves low-level crimes in the throes of addiction. When he tells me all this is what they have done, we then adjust our recommendation based upon that, and we try to work into a program, an aftercare program even afterwards. So it may be a little bit of incarceration, and then people just can't walk on our streets. It doesn't work. You've got to have an integration process. And we usually, I think the sheriff told me 48 hours. He needs at least to get 48 hours so that they can get people to get on health insurance, get them housing, and get them situated so they get out in the community. If we just release them right out, they go back to the trap houses. They go back to what they know. They go back to where the drugs are, and they fall back into the trap. There has to be a plan to get it out. The sheriff knows that. I know that. He's implemented it, and we're very grateful to have that information so that we can then follow up in court with what type of recommendation we should have, what type of programming should be offered afterwards, when they should be released, and let the judge know why they have to stay in. And I'm going to tell you something. When I was a defense lawyer, lots of people have died from overdoses. That were my clients. We're seeing a big difference with the work they're doing. They're better off being incarcerated for 6 months than 6 feet underground.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. First, obviously, we're going to talk about your recidivism rate. I'm sure it's gone way, way down. But separating out those suffering from alcoholism and drug addiction, how do you separate that out? And obviously, it's a medical problem, but also winds up getting somebody in serious trouble. The need for addiction.
We have treatment programs. We have the medications assistant treatment program. We work with the Breen Center. We work with Berkshire Health Systems. We have a contract with Spectrum, so we're giving methadone, Suboxone, Vivitrol, all these things at our facility to help these individuals with their addictions. Going back to the DA's point, when these people leave our facility, they received a whole sort of services and resources. If we just let them walk out the door and point them in the right direction, they don't follow through on them. I don't like to use the term we have to hold their hand, but we bring the services to them. That's why Second Street is so important. Mm-hmm. Second Street allows the programs to come to them. They come to Second Street. We bring the services to them at Second Street. When you talk about recidivism, I think the national recidivism rate with incarcerated individuals is up around over 50%. We've knocked it down to as low as with Second Street, the people involved in Second Street. It was 17, then down to 11, and almost below 10. So those are the unduplicated individuals that we're dealing with because we're bringing the services to them. We're guiding them. These people, a lot of these individuals that are coming back in our community that have just made some bad choices have never had any guidance or direction. And that's what we're providing with them. And it's panning out to their benefit. It's also, we strive for a stronger, healthier, and safer community. These are members of our community. the better off these people are, they're helping us with that stronger, healthier, and safer community. So,
Which
you know,
goes right to the core of protecting women and children
Exactly.
and families.
and it's not just because even though we don't house the women at our at Cheshire Road, those women from Berkshire County who are down in the Chicopee
Yeah.
Women's Center, they're coming back to Second Street. We have women's programs. We've had both male and female formerly incarcerated individuals that were either at Chicopee or at our place that have been involved in the Second Street programs. We've done plays with Berkshire Community College.
Right to one.
Yep, describing what they've gone through, their life experiences. We have the Dress for Success program with the DA's office,
That's beautiful.
getting these people ready for employment, so they look suitable for their employment. We have educational programs, financial literacy programs for these individuals. We have legal aid as well there, housing authorities coming in. We have realtors that are involved with us. So many programs. Williams College is still involved with us up in our main jail. We have the programs with Williams College, the educational programs.
Which is also good for the students to be aware of another way of life that probably wouldn't have
Absolutely.
entered it without the
Absolutely.
sheriff's department.
The interaction in those programs. We just had a graduation this past spring with a group from Williams College and our students. 7 or 8 of our inmates and 7 or 8 of the students from Williams College. Manufacturing program with BCC. All these things are beneficial to these people. And it's these programs and the collaboration that Tim talked about, the DA talked about, is what's knocking down our recidivism rate and giving these people a second chance, or sometimes it's even a third or fourth chance. We understand that, but it's giving them a chance to get back on their feet and be a successful member of our community.
And we understand addiction.
Beautiful.
Addiction is a really tough thing to break. And when people get out, it's just easy to go back to it. And let me tell you, drug dealers will offer this drugs for free to get them back because they like to use these people.
Sure.
And so that's where they get housed. That's what they try to do. So it's really important. If we really want to break the cycle, we want to stop the overdose deaths. We want to stop the opioid and now the cocaine threat that exists out in our community. We have to do it in twofold. One is to stop the supply, which is what I'm doing. The second is what the sheriff and I are doing together is to work on getting people through the addiction process, getting them clean, getting them off drugs. And then once they're off, it's such an awful urge. It's easy to fall back into it. Without that help, without that holding the hand, so to speak, as immature as it may sound, but how important it is to give that helping hand to that person. Because when you see them, they don't come back to commit crimes. They're employed. They're paying taxes. They're becoming, part of our community again. And their self-worth, you can see how people just change. These are good people that have just unfortunately found themselves in some sort of either mental health, alcohol, or substance addiction that's led them to where they are at that particular point in time. And they just need help. And we have to end the stigma to it. So that's one of the things I like with the sheriff's program when we run the job fairs, and I add address to success for that, is we're trying to end the stigma so that employers can hire these people back that may have fallen by the wayside for a bit of time, but they are now on the road to recovery because people do recover.
Yes,
there
they
is
do.
an answer. And the sheriff can tell you the success rate that he sees of the, and look at that recidivism note, 50% and you're down to 11%. That's
It's
one
amazing.
incredible
The
drive.
only other thing I would add, which is out of your venue, would be education of children when they're little to say, and this in my own family, we have a family disease. You can't drink, you can't do drugs. It's a disease. And,
It is.
you start that with children, that will also help both of you.
Well, that's why we're back in the schools. And I invested a lot of money, and we're back in the schools doing all sorts of outreach programs. And we're getting younger kids. And the sheriff and we're dedicated to this. We go to every one of those their graduations. We spend a lot of time educating these kids about the dangers of drugs, and not just drugs anymore. It's it's the vaping. It's just there's so many other side things.
It's
The
crazy.
bullying. There's the sexting. There's so many different things that Dare now deals with that we have the availability to go reach out to these kids and speak to them, which is important. And I've invested a lot of money with staff going into the schools and teaching and running programs. A lot of it on internet crime and about again the use of cell phones. There's just so many things that we are doing within the community. Most people don't realize that. They just see us in the paper. We're prosecuting cases. We're winning these trials. And we're doing our job on the criminal front, but they don't see the community resource stuff that we are doing, and it's very important. And again, we take this model from what the sheriff's been doing, and he's been doing this for a long time, and it works, and we're seeing it. But you got to in order for it to work, we have to work together. And
Oh,
that's it.
yes.
And we do.
You
And
know,
I'm glad you come here together.
one of the things
Because it could
when we
share
go to
with
the
both
their
sides.
graduations, and there's, trust me, all across the country, there's a lot of people believe that the model of DARE doesn't really work anymore. And I would like to see the DARE program not stop at fifth grade and go a little bit higher into the middle school, middle school level. And I'll tell you, the one thing I always say to the parents at these DARE graduations is take 10 minutes at the end of every day before your child goes to bed or at dinner time and sit down and talk with them about their daily experiences, what took place during the day. If you do that, you're making the child feel more comfortable telling the parents things that happened. And when you can build that form of interaction and trust, they will come to you when they're in a time of need. And it makes it easier for them because they've already had that interaction and they know they can trust the parent. So just finding out, they'll learn a lot from their kids if they just sit down and talk about what happens.
Yes.
And the kids will learn a lot from their parents. So just a simple 10-minute at the end of the day, just talk about what took place during the day, the interactions you had, the people you met, what took place. You know, you'll find out about arguments that they had with another school kid or child or neighborhood friend or whatever. But learn about these things.
And you
as
can learn
much
how to resolve them, teach your
Yes.
children how to resolve them. I get very concerned when I see a table at a restaurant and the whole family's together, but they're all like,
cell phone. Yeah.
and I think, oh dear.
Well, that's why we're
You're
taking them
missing
out of
all
the
the
schools
time to
now.
talk.
The cell phones are being removed from schools, which is a great
I think
idea.
that's a great idea.
But you know, what the sheriff is really saying, go back to the DARE program. We're talking to these young kids that are 10 and 11 years of age, but what we're really talking to is the parents as well.
Yes.
And you'd be surprised how many parents and guardians and caregivers show up for these events.
Yeah.
It's packed, and the sheriff can attest to that as well. We talk to them, and that's the big message we do say. Listen to your children. Don't get angry at them. They're going to make mistakes. People make mistakes. That's and humans. People
That's
make
how you
mistakes.
teach that.
Yeah.
That's how you
Well,
teach
You learn.
You're also going to learn things that you might not want to hear,
Right.
but accept them and understand that it probably took a lot for the child to tell you this, but accept it, deal with it, but continue that communication. Because the more you communicate with them, the more they know they can trust you and they can come to you with anything. So a lot of the things that we do in the community, a lot of it goes back to the home.
It does.
And
Absolutely.
that's where
Yes, it does.
the main focus really needs to be, is back in the home. And a lot of times we can't get into those. So social services can't get into those homes. DCF can get in there and do things with family orientations and reuniting and people back together, the whole 9 yards. But it all goes back to the home. And this is where these kids get their guidance, and this is where they get their structure. So if you have a stable and sturdy home life, then things are going to go much better for you down the road.
That's why we go to these events. When we go, I go to most of these picnics that they have in different areas. We go in the marginalized communities. We did the Legends of West Side, where we donated money to help pay for that. But we see them breaking bread, and we're eating with them and having fun with them, playing wiffle ball. And we've done that. We do that. I go to Adams, I go to Cheshire, I go Lanesboro, Town Day, North Adams. We try to reach out to them. And I see the sheriff. If it's not the sheriff, it's one of his people.
But it makes you approachable.
It makes us
They
approachable.
know
And you're
you're like,
here.
oh, this is somebody I can talk to.
That's
Not
right.
gonna, like,
That's right.
Look down at me.
That's right. We're
not
in with
talk
our
to me.
community. We're
Yeah.
breaking bread with people.
Yeah.
We're spending time even on one of the events to be out there. You'll see it to the Chili Chowder Fest this week. We'll be at that. We're always out at these events so that the public can know, so that we are much more reachable and much more community access based, because we both believe we grew up here. This is our families are all here. This is what we really want to do, is to give back to this community. And so by doing that, we enjoy going out and doing this stuff. It's the good part of the job. But it takes a lot of work and a lot of commitment. And that's why, we make sure our staff does this as well. I know my staff is required to. I see the sheriff's staff everywhere. And you don't even have to ask them. People want to do it. I see them out. They're having fun doing it. So I'm proud of that. And again, I know the sheriff's doing it, and because we take a lot of what he's doing and try to implement that as well.
I got a quick little story.
Okay.
It goes
we
along
don't
with,
have to just hit the time.
it
It's all
goes
right.
it goes along with what we're talking about when it comes to community engagement and community involvement. And there's a whole other host of youth sports and different agencies that are out there as well. So my grandson is part of a baseball camp, and this camp is the director of the YMCA now. The new director is Chris Bianchi. So My son has dealt with Chris Bianchi for flag football. My grandson is going to be 8 in August, and now he's in the baseball camp with Chris Bianchi. Chris Bianchi has this unique ability, like many of us do that are out there in the community, to be able to approach and deal with the youth, with young kids. Joe McGovern has his people at the Boys Club. Yeah. Chris Bianchi has his people at the YMCA. My grandson went up. He is so comfortable, not comfortable, but he is so tuned in with Chris Bianchi. He walked up the other day and asked the coach if he would come to his birthday party.
Oh.
Those are the things that you want.
Sure.
That's just because of how Chris deals with the youth and his kids. And when they go to practice, they don't just talk about baseball. They talk about things that are happening around life, about what's going on in society. He had a long little talk about the 4th of July. What does it mean? The independence of the United States, the whole 9 yards. So when you see someone who's like my grandson, who looks up to Coach Bianchi enough to say, "Hey, Coach, would you come to my birthday party?" You know what I mean? So that just speaks volumes about other people in this community that are doing their best to make this a stronger, healthier, and safer community.
Yeah, that should really be noted. There are just so many great individuals in this community that are community based. Even when I started the Kids Place, I couldn't have done it without all the community support that we have gotten. Really, people are so generous in this county with their time, if they can afford it, with their money, and they really are dedicated to these causes. You go out to these places, you see people that got their heart and souls into our youth and our children, which are our future, and it's very, very important. So when you see a child reach up to someone that's in a mentoring position, like we want them to be mentored, and not on the streets where they're drug dealers and looking up to drug dealers who might be driving a fancy car. Instead, you're looking up to sports figures, or you're doing dance or theater. There's just so. I think it's very important for families to get their kids involved in things, and there's a lot of free things out there to do. There's a lot of things to do. I drive down Clark Park because I live on the west side of Pittsfield. I drive by. You see that splash pad being used all summer. So proud to be part of a community that does that. You see the kids playing basketball. And the baseball games are packed. There's cars everywhere.
Getting them outside.
And they're all
other children and
parents. You see a lot of parents out there. You'd be surprised.
Monday nights, I went by last night at the Dorothy Amos Park on West Street.
Yeah.
Dasheen Moore and another group from the West Side community has got a basketball program, youth basketball program from young ages up to the teenager high school students, called Beat the Streets, and they have basketball tournaments all night long. That's great. And they also want to continue that, and they want to get public safety involved. They want to have these 3-man teams, 2 members from the youth community with a person from public safety. And play basketball. And it not only stays here in Berkshire County, but it goes elsewhere. It goes across the state as well. So those are the things that that are so important and so vital to bringing this community back together.
Yeah, you got to get, and especially even with law enforcement, we got to get people to understand and trust them. And if they're in the community doing these events, going to these picnics and whatnot, and our lawyers all have to do it now, how the staff does, they go out and they enjoy it. But you got to spend some time with the community just because they can know who you are and they know they can trust you and that your heart's in the right place and you're trying to do things to better your community. We're not here just to try to lock people up. And sometimes people, say that about the sheriff and myself because our role in some aspect, of course, we have to do that. I have to go. If someone's going to rape a 3-year-old, for example, they got to go to prison. Yep. You're going to murder somebody, you get a first-degree murder, and we've just had, like I said, we had 5 murders resolved in the last 13 months, 3 first-degree murders and 4 murder trials. So it was a lot of work. Those people go to prison for a long time. So yes, that's a role we have to do. I have to lock up people that are bringing in drugs that are not here on addiction. They are here solely as businessmen coming in to poison our community, to take that money out of our community and just make themselves rich at it. I am not tolerating that. And we're putting them in state prison. And if the difference is in the district court, when we got people that need to be housed in the house of correction so they don't die, we do that. So it is a house of corrections. But yes.
True circumstances. How are your feelings about the dire circumstances that are going on in our country right now? And is all of this affecting your grant ability or your funding ability? And obviously, for me, and so many others watching ICE in our Berkshire County community across Massachusetts is terrifying.
It is terrifying. We don't cooperate with ICE.
Thank
I
I wouldn't expect you to.
I prosecute my cases. I don't want my victims not to have their day in court.
Yeah.
So I don't like it when someone is if they're not held and they're on the streets and they get picked up, and I can't bring justice to that family, and I can't bring justice to the citizens of Berkshire County because I couldn't prosecute that person who may get shipped back and then find their way back into the United States. And trust me, it happens all the time. And they go away without any punishment. So they're not prosecuted for the crime. Let me prosecute my crimes. And you just say that's my whole point. And plus, we have a big Latin American community in here, a lot from Central America. They're making restaurants, they're building businesses here. We need to embrace them like we were embraced when our ancestors came to this country. So, but as far as the rest of it goes, I look at Berkshire County as Berkshire County. We can still keep it the bucolic Berkshires by doing the job that we're doing, and don't let the outside forces come in and take us. Are we worried in the state? Yes. If all of a sudden Massachusetts has to pay for Medicaid, which it looks like they may have to, that is going to substantially affect my budget and the sheriff's budget. On top of that, we do write a lot of grants. Law enforcement grants are still somewhat available, but a lot of the social service grants that we would use are being dried up because the federal government doesn't want to fund those. And they need to be funded. But we're finding ways. We usually run between $660,000 and $1 million a year in grants. That's money I use that I put back in the community. Doesn't go to my office. I use it on Roots Rising and some of these other programs that we provide the funding for them. We try to get vehicles to bring people to and from addiction facilities. We invest a lot of this money back into the community. And some of it I do put into law enforcement. I'll put in the summertime, I put extra patrols outside because the state police come through. So can it affect us? Yes. My hope is that we can survive within our community, within our county, but let's all work together. But yes, it is dramatically affecting our budgets, and it's going to affect our grants. It's just a question of how can we adapt and adjust that, because we will.
You know, one of the things I didn't think I'd be recommending, and of course I have this whole diverse group of friends, is to ask them to copy their passports or their identification forms and give one to a friend. Because if somebody comes in, like it's happened in Massachusetts, and pulls you off the street, you have no proof. What if they grab your passport? So I would say, put your passport, leave one at home, give one to a friend, and so that you have some kind
But you got to be careful with passports. You don't want to even lose a copy of it, because it could be very detrimental to someone if they lose that passport. So if you're going to keep that, keep it under a safe, the safe box, because it could be abused. So you have to be careful with that.
Oh yes, it's a
let me tell
really
you,
valuable document.
It is, and you know, we again, I talked about it earlier, but we do keep a track of all the scams that come through our community, because it affects people that I consider the greatest generation. They fought in World War II and they fought in the Korean War, and they leave their doors open, and they've always swirled the money away. And these people come in and they try to steal from them, because we were a trusting generation. And now, unfortunately, we have to teach people to be cautious. And I tell a lot of people, even if you don't have to be older, but your parents, pay attention to your parents. Make sure they're not being swindled by somebody, because it can happen so quick. And most people that are older don't want to admit or tell their children that they've been swindled.
Because it's so humiliating.
It's humiliating. But
you're talking about people who are smart,
very smart,
and just can't believe it happened to them.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, tell people, if your kids, you're in your 40s, your 50s, just. As we do with our children, do that with your parents. Make sure you're staying in touch with them. It's just as important, because we can educate them on what the scams are. A lot of times we can't catch them because they're coming in from out of the country. So they're from all over third world places where they're stealing people, and the money's being sent out of the country. Crypto coins, that's very dangerous stuff. Yeah. So talk to your parents, just as we say parents talk to your kids. Talk to your parents as well, and educate them on that there are scams out there. And we're here to help. You can call our office anytime. We have, and like I said, Lieutenant Gaylord and James Hall, they're out every single day. They'll be at the Dalton Triad next week, I think. Yeah, because I'm going to be in Kansas City, but they're going to be at the Dalton Triad.
I remember coming back to take care of my mother at 90 years old, and I had to tell her to lock the door, and certain things like that. And the only way I could get her to do it was to say, "You have to do it for me, Mother," because I lived in inner cities. I couldn't seem to get across that You have to do this now.
Yeah, but people knocking at your door. Oh, I'm cutting the trees down next door. I'll do this for like, $1,500, a lot cheaper than it really would be. They take the money and they're gone. You never see them again. And, and the big ones are the grandparent scheme. We had one in Dalton, where someone indicated that they're, called this person who had grandkids, said, your son was in an automobile accident down at Taco Bell in Allendale, and I need $10,000 to get him out of bail. I'm a bail bondsman, but $10,000. And everything sounded like it was legit. He knew all the information of the kids. He stole the information off the internet. And sure enough, he goes to the house. He gives them the cash. Well, his daughter catches wind of it. They go to the Dalton police. We then found out that he said it wasn't enough. He needed $10,000 more. Well, we ended up sending a courier over. We arrested the courier. But the courier, as we turned out later on, found out had no connection to it. But that's how smart they are. Yeah. But he almost gave away another $10,000. And just this scam, but thinking his grandson had been in an accident, and he hadn't. He hadn't been. It was just a complete scam. So we tell people, second guess everything. Anybody wants cash, don't do it. Share the information with your family. Share it with your kids to make sure that you don't get that money taken away. Believe it or not, we've had, one was in Great Barrington and one was in North Adams, both about $400,000. Life savings. Life savings. Yeah, bad. And again, we had the FBI involved in those particular cases, one of which we caught and one of which we couldn't catch. And so those are federal prosecutions, so they wouldn't be in our county, they're in Springfield. But, we're out teaching that. And again, we do it with the sheriff's office and with our community engagement people.
And you're still doing lettuce?
Oh, yeah. We still have the aquaponics program.
Yes, which are also sustaining.
Yeah.
The great.
Our people, we have a contract with 100 Gardens out of North Carolina, was just up here recently. And prior to their arrival, Hoosick Valley High School was up looking at our program because they have grant money for an agricultural program up in Hoosick Valley. And they met with our consultants that we have. And of course, we have a huge educational component that goes along with growing the aquaponics and the lettuce. So Hoosick Valley is very interested in working with 100 Gardens on a curriculum for their high school up at Hoosick. And I think they also met with Taconic High School as well.
Is that where that started? Isn't that where that started?
What's that?
The hydroponics?
No, ours?
Oh, I'm thinking.
No.
The first time I came there, no, it wasn't North Carolina, was it?
Oh no, the company we dealt with is from North Carolina. Yes.
We did that.
They've done they did a program for a juvenile detention, a youth, like a DYS.
Yeah.
That's one of their first educational programs they did down south for hardcore juveniles, and from there it evolved to several others, and then us as well. Mm-hmm. So it's still flourishing. It's going well. We're over the 300, almost close to 400,000 heads of lettuce that have been donated back to the community. I can honestly say that 30 towns and 2 cities in Berkshire County have all been recipients of our donations in some way, shape, or form from our aquaponics program.
I'd never seen anything like it when I went
it's
to the
awesome,
sheriff's
isn't it?
office. Give me the whole tour. You want something to eat? I couldn't believe what was going on there.
Yeah,
It's the only place we're highlighting what both of you are doing in your respective jobs. And, I know you must have stress, but you must love it. Dig in.
It's a lot.
See what you can accomplish.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of hours. It's really what it is, because you want to get out in the community. Like I said, on Sunday, it was my day. On Sunday was to be at the Hamad. It was opening in Lenox. They asked me to come and speak there. So we do those things, but it's long weeks and we work really hard. But we're both dedicated to this. We're both from here, and we both have family here, like I said earlier. And it's very important to both of us that we give back to this community. I think that Berkshire County has still got such great vision. And I believe about leading with positivity and not negativity, because there's too much negativity in the world. We need civility back to everybody. And unfortunately, COVID hurt a lot. And then the political stress that's happening throughout the country and the division between respective parties is causing just so much strife. We have got to get back to basics and do civility, take care of each other within our community, care about your neighbors, care about everybody else. And so we try to build that program, that type of idea, philosophy, I should say, that we believe in leading by optimism, and we can move forward get better business in town by making it safer. It's a lot safer, I'll tell you right now, than it was 3 years ago before I took office. I'm very proud of what we've done to get to these drugs and
You
guns
had
off
a
the
lot to
street.
clean up.
We had a lot to clean up,
Yes,
and
I know
there was a big backlog. And so
Yeah.
we have plowed through all that, and we're still getting it done. But I'm proud of the fact that not only are we just doing that, we're also deeply engaged with the community. And this office was not that way at all before. It was an isolationist. This is an active, and the sheriff can tell you that. He would not even receive the information from that office. Now it's an open door, and we're very transparent, and we're in the community. It's very important for the public to know that. It's also important to see
Why
your
I'm glad
leaders.
you're here.
Yeah, it's important to see your leaders out. You want to see the sheriff out.
You have to, none of us can do this alone.
No, I can't.
We have to have the team approach. With the team approach, if you take a look at the word team, together, everyone achieves more. And it's true. I mean, we have to collaborate. We cannot do this alone. We don't have the funding to do it alone. We don't have the staffing to do it alone. So we have to pool our resources, to utilize every resource we have to solve the issues that we have in Berkshire County.
And we stretch these dollars. We really do. I mean, I'm pretty proud of how we run our budgets. So
That's important. How you do it.
we do. We stretch it. I spend it on things that are necessary.
I'll tell you this.
Let's do some final thoughts.
Couple of the- couple
we
of
can
the-
talk all afternoon.
I'll tell you what. I know Tim just hired a new CFO.
Yep.
And I have a CFO. These are the unsung heroes of these are the people who you don't hear anything about, but they are the ones who are managing our dollars and cents. And it's because of their talent and their intelligence and their experience. That's why we're able to do the things we are able to do in this community. It's because of our CFOs.
That brings up a big point. The staff that we have, the staff that I have, the staff the sheriff has, is top notch.
Yeah.
You know, we're the face of the organizations, but the people that we have, my Superior Court lawyers are second to none. Probably one of the best law offices in Western Mass. They are all top-rated lawyers. Marion Shelby just won 2 back-to-back murder trials, first degree. It took about 3 weeks each case. It's a lot of work. And so we've got really top-notch lawyers, and we've got top-notch staff. I look down that office, and people are happy. They like coming into work. And what a big difference that is. They're excited about doing their jobs, excited about everything they're doing. But sometimes they get overworked. So we've got to make sure that we give them the time off, and we try to do things. We'll have softball games after hours. And we just had people go to the Hot Plate Brewery just a couple weeks ago just to have pizza there and bring it over and just get the staff out of the office. And I know the sheriff does that a lot. Yeah. And we need to do that. And we need to do that to keep our people sane from what they're doing. They're dealing with trauma every single day.
Yeah.
Both of our offices dealing with trauma every single day. So we're trying to make sure that we lead positively, we lead with a vision, and we also lead with understanding that our staff also is giving a lot, and they're very educated and they're very smart, but we also need to make sure we're treating them correctly.
Oh yeah, and protect them from burnout.
Protect them from burnout.
Because
It's really hard. Yeah, we bring in a speaker once a month, and I bring in food, and we'll do a lecture series. Last month we had it for Juneteenth. We had the 54th Masters Regiment, from the movie Glory. We all had their reenactors all came in, and they did a whole 2-hour presentation. They had fun. They brought weapons and all sorts of stuff. And we just brought pizza in for that day, and the staff get to go in there, and they could just do that. I do something usually every month to try to make sure I give them a breather and have a couple hours clear your heads. This is important.
So when are you coming back again? I'm going to catch Tom before he catches me, which he usually does on this program.
I don't know. It seems you and I seem to do it every 6 months. Doesn't it seem that way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe sooner, maybe later. Anyway, I am so grateful to you, Berkshire County District Attorney Timothy J. Shugrue, and Berkshire County Sheriff Thomas N.Bowler.
Yeah.
I am so grateful for each and every time that you come
Sure.
and spend time with Solutions Rising.
Glad to be here.
We love it, Rachel. It's always a pleasure to see you, and it's always nice to catch up again.
Thank you so much. And if each one of us picked up one problem and solved it, imagine the incredible view we would all have of Solutions Rising. Please be part of the solution. We've heard a lot of them right here today with Sheriff Bowler and District Attorney Shugrue. Thank you.